6 reasons why you don't like being around people. It's not what you think. Have you ever walked into a room full of people only to feel like you don't belong? Like everyone is engaged in conversations that seem meaningless. Or maybe you've found yourself at a social event, counting down the minutes until you can finally go home and be alone with your thoughts. If that sounds familiar, let me tell you something. You're not broken. You're not antisocial. You're not weird. In fact, some of the greatest minds in history, Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, felt the same way. They believed that spending too much time with the wrong people could be a waste of energy, a distraction from what truly matters. And guess what? They were right. We live in a world that constantly tells us we need to be social. We're bombarded with messages like, you need a big social circle to be happy. Networking is the key to success. If you prefer being alone, something must be wrong with you. But what if that's not true? What if choosing solitude over superficial socializing is actually a sign of strength, not weakness? What if preferring deep, meaningful connections, or even just your own company, means that you see the world differently? The Stoics believed that not all company is good company. They taught that we should carefully choose who we allow into our lives, because the people we surround ourselves with can shape our thoughts, emotions, and ultimately, our destiny. And that brings us to the question, why do some people feel drained, uncomfortable, or even frustrated when they're around others? The answer lies in 6 powerful Stoic principles. Principles that explain why you might not enjoy being around people as much as society expects you to. So, if you've ever felt this way, stick with me. Because by the end of this video, you're not just going to understand why you feel this way. You're going to embrace it. In this video, we're going to break down why too much socializing can distract you from what truly matters. Why you value inner peace more than external validation. How most conversations today lack depth and meaning. Why you naturally avoid drama and negativity. Why self-sufficiency makes you feel more at ease alone. And why you see life from a deeper perspective than most people. If any of these points already resonate with you, then congratulations. You're already thinking like a Stoic. Now, let's dive in. Here's the first reason why you might not like being around people. Reason 1. People distract you from what truly matters. Imagine waking up in the morning, your mind clear, your goals set for the day. You know what you need to focus on, your work, your personal growth, maybe even just a quiet moment of reflection. But then, a notification pops up on your phone. A message from someone who just wants to gossip. An invitation to an event you don't really care about. A conversation that you know will lead nowhere. Before you know it, your time and energy are gone, wasted on distractions that have nothing to do with what truly matters to you. The Stoics warned us about this. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his personal journal, "People try to pull you into their dramas, their trivial concerns. But you must ask yourself, does this help me become a better person? Does this bring me closer to my purpose?" Most of the time, the answer is no. The cost of distraction. Every moment spent on unnecessary social interactions is a moment taken away from your growth. The modern world is full of distractions, constant notifications, small talk, and social obligations that drain your mental energy. Think about the last time you spent hours talking with someone about meaningless things. Did it fulfill you, or did it leave you feeling mentally exhausted, like you wasted time that could have been spent on something more meaningful? The Stoics believed that time is our most valuable resource. Seneca famously said, "People are frugal in guarding their personal property, but as soon as it comes to squandering time, they are most wasteful of the one thing in which it is right to be stingy." When you constantly surround yourself with people who don't align with your values, you risk being pulled into their distractions, their worries, and their priorities, things that have nothing to do with your own growth. Choosing solitude over noise. There's a reason why some of the greatest thinkers in history spent large amounts of time alone. Solitude isn't loneliness, it's freedom. It's the space you create to think, to reflect, to focus on the things that matter. When you start prioritizing your inner world over external distractions, you might notice that you naturally pull away from certain social interactions. Not because you dislike people, but because you recognize the cost of engaging with them mindlessly. This isn't about becoming a recluse or avoiding all human connection. It's about being intentional. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, who challenge you, who push you to grow. But don't be afraid to walk away from the noise. Now, let's move on to the second reason why you might not like being around people. Reason 2, you value inner peace more than external validation. Have you ever noticed how much energy people spend trying to impress others? Whether it's social media posts, workplace conversations, or even casual hangouts, so many interactions are built around seeking approval. The Stoics saw this as a dangerous trap. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it bluntly. If you are ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your own integrity. Be satisfied if you have done something well, and leave others to their opinions. Yet society conditions us to believe that being liked by others is the key to happiness. That if we're well-connected, admired, or validated, we'll feel fulfilled. But the truth is, the more you rely on external validation, the more you surrender control over your own peace. The burden of seeking approval. Think about how exhausting it is to constantly filter yourself, to adjust your opinions to fit in, to pretend to be interested in things just to be part of a conversation. The need for validation makes people compromise their authenticity. You might feel pressured to laugh at jokes that aren't funny, agree with opinions you don't believe in, or engage in conversations that don't interest you. All because you don't want to be seen as different. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. It teaches that true peace comes from within, not from what others think of you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about their opinions than our own. Why should the approval of others dictate how you feel? Why should someone else's opinion of you be more important than your own self-respect? The freedom of letting go. The moment you stop seeking approval, you start experiencing real freedom. You no longer have to exhaust yourself trying to be liked. You no longer have to engage in interactions that drain you. You no longer have to measure your worth by how others see you. Instead, you start focusing on what you think of yourself. Are you living according to your values? Are you working on your personal growth? Are you at peace with your decisions? This is why some people naturally withdraw from social circles that thrive on validation. They don't see the point in chasing approval because they've found something far more valuable: inner peace. And when you have that, you'll realize something incredible. You don't need to be around people to feel whole. Now let's move on to the next reason why you might not enjoy socializing. Most conversations today lack depth and meaning. Reason 3. Most conversations are superficial. Have you ever been stuck in a conversation that felt completely pointless? Maybe you're at a party and someone is talking about the latest celebrity drama. Or you're at work, listening to small talk about the weather for the 10th time that week. You nod, you smile, you respond. But inside, you feel drained. If you've ever thought to yourself, "Why are we even talking about this?" You're not alone. The Stoics believed that words should have meaning. They valued depth over noise, wisdom over gossip. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, warned against engaging in meaningless chatter, saying, "The first sign of a mind that is well-ordered is the ability to be silent or to speak with purpose." But today, most conversations are the opposite of that. They're filled with surface-level discussions, gossip, and empty words, and if you crave depth, it's no wonder you don't enjoy them. The problem with shallow conversations. Think about the conversations you have daily. How many of them truly add value to your life? The problem with small talk isn't just that it's repetitive, it's that it lacks real connection. Stoicism teaches that our time is precious, and wasting it on meaningless conversations can be mentally exhausting. Seneca once wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach." But in today's world, most social interactions don't follow this principle. Instead of deep discussions that make us think, we get gossip about people's lives that have nothing to do with us. Endless talk about things that don't matter in the long run. Conversations that feel forced, where we're just waiting for our turn to speak. It's no wonder deep thinkers often prefer silence over small talk. Why deep thinkers struggle with socializing? If you don't enjoy being around people, it could be because you crave meaningful discussions, and those are rare. Most people aren't interested in talking about philosophy, personal growth, the meaning of life, or deep introspection. They'd rather keep things light, comfortable, and easy. But if you think differently, if you see the world through a Stoic lens, you naturally feel disconnected from shallow conversations. You might even prefer being alone, where your thoughts can flow freely, rather than engaging in empty dialogue that leaves you feeling unfulfilled. The Stoic approach: speak with purpose or stay silent. The Stoics had a simple rule when it came to conversation. If you speak, speak with purpose. If a discussion doesn't add value, it's better to remain silent. Epictetus advised, "Keep silence for the most part, and speak only when you must, and then briefly." This doesn't mean you have to cut people off or refuse to engage in any conversations. It just means you should be selective. Surround yourself with people who challenge your thinking, who encourage you to grow, and who are willing to have real conversations. If you've ever felt like you'd rather be alone than engage in small talk, you're not antisocial. You just value your time and mental energy. And that's exactly what Stoic wisdom teaches us to do. Now let's move on to the fourth reason why you don't like being around people. You dislike drama and negativity. Reason 4. You dislike drama and negativity. Have you ever noticed how much of social life revolves around complaining, gossiping, and unnecessary drama? It seems like no matter where you go, there's always someone stirring up conflict, spreading rumors, or bringing negative energy into a conversation. If that kind of thing exhausts you, there's a good reason for it. Stoicism teaches that peace of mind is more important than engaging in pointless drama. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, had a rule for dealing with negativity. You always have the option of having no opinion. There is never a need to get worked up or to trouble your soul about things you cannot control. But most people don't live by this principle. Instead, they thrive on conflict, outrage, and complaining. And if you're someone who values inner peace, being around that kind of energy can feel overwhelming. Why drama drains you? Negativity is contagious. If you spend too much time around people who complain, argue, or spread gossip, it starts to affect your mindset. Think about the last time you were around someone who was constantly negative. Maybe they were complaining about their job, their relationships, or the world in general. Even if you weren't involved in their problems, just listening to them probably made you feel tired. Seneca warned against this when he said, "We should avoid the company of those who complain incessantly, for their complaints will soon become our own." This is why some people naturally withdraw from social situations. It's not that they hate people, it's that they dislike the unnecessary stress and drama that comes with them. The Stoic way. Protect your peace. One of the core lessons of Stoicism is learning to control your own mind. You can't control what other people say or do, but you can control whether you engage with negativity. Here's how the Stoics handled drama. They ignored gossip. Marcus Aurelius believed that talking about others was a waste of time. He focused on his own actions instead. They avoided unnecessary arguments. Epictetus taught that we don't need to win every debate. Sometimes it's wiser to remain silent. They set boundaries. Seneca warned against spending too much time around negative people because their mindset could influence your own. If you're someone who values peace and emotional stability, it makes sense that you'd rather be alone than deal with unnecessary drama. You're not avoiding people. You're protecting your mental clarity. And that's exactly what Stoicism encourages you to do. Now let's move on to the next reason why you might not like being around people. You prefer self-sufficiency over reliance on others. Reason 5. You prefer self-sufficiency. Have you ever noticed how much people depend on others for their happiness, validation, and even their sense of purpose? Some people feel uncomfortable being alone, constantly seeking company to fill a void. But if you prefer solitude, it's likely because you've discovered something powerful, the ability to rely on yourself. Stoicism teaches that self-sufficiency is one of the greatest strengths a person can develop. The more you depend on external factors, whether it's people, material things, or circumstances, the less control you have over your own life. Epictetus put it simply, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you're self-sufficient, you don't feel the need to constantly be around people to feel whole. You don't rely on others to entertain you, make you feel important, or validate your existence. Instead, you find fulfillment in your own growth, your own pursuits, and your own inner peace. The burden of dependency. Many people avoid solitude because it forces them to face themselves. When they're alone, they start to feel restless, uncomfortable, even anxious. This is because they've spent their lives avoiding deep introspection, filling every quiet moment with distractions. The Stoics, on the other hand, embrace solitude as a time for reflection and self-mastery. Seneca wrote, "The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself." But modern society doesn't teach us to be self-sufficient. Instead, we're encouraged to rely on social validation, constant entertainment, and external distractions. The idea of being alone is often seen as sad or unnatural, but that's far from the truth. Why self-sufficiency leads to peace. When you're truly self-sufficient, you realize that. You don't need people to entertain you. You have your own interests, passions, and projects that fulfill you. You don't need external validation. You're comfortable with who you are, regardless of whether others approve. You don't fear being alone. In fact, you thrive in solitude because it allows you to think clearly and grow. Being around people isn't a necessity for you. It's a choice, and that's a powerful mindset to have. Now let's move on to the final reason why you might not enjoy being around people. You see the bigger picture. Reason 6. You see the bigger picture. Have you ever felt like the things people obsess over are trivial? Maybe it's celebrity gossip, workplace drama, or material possessions. You listen to their conversations and think, does any of this actually matter? That's because you have a different perspective. The Stoics believed that most people get caught up in short-term concerns, meaningless arguments, and fleeting desires. But true wisdom comes from stepping back and seeing the bigger picture. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, often reminded himself, "Soon you will be dead, and none of these things will matter." Now that might sound harsh, but it's actually freeing. It means that all the small things people stress about, the petty conflicts, the need for social status, the endless pursuit of approval, are insignificant in the grand scheme of life. Why deep thinkers feel disconnected. If you naturally think about deeper topics, such as the meaning of life, your purpose, or the impermanence of things, it makes sense that you'd feel disconnected from people who only care about temporary distractions. The Stoics taught that most people live their lives as if they will never die. They chase after meaningless things, wasting their time on shallow concerns. But those who see the bigger picture focus on something greater: self-improvement, wisdom, and leaving a meaningful impact. This mindset can sometimes make socializing feel frustrating. It's hard to engage in surface-level conversations when your mind is occupied with deeper truths. And when you try to bring up more meaningful topics, you might find that most people aren't interested, or worse, they don't understand. So instead of forcing yourself into social interactions that don't align with your values, you choose solitude, not because you dislike people, but because your mind operates on a different level. And that's okay. In fact, that's exactly what Stoic wisdom encourages. Now, let's wrap this up with some final thoughts. Conclusion: embracing your nature. If you've ever felt like you don't enjoy being around people as much as society expects you to, that's okay. In fact, it might even be a sign of wisdom. The Stoics understood that not all social interactions add value to our lives, and that true strength comes from knowing when to engage and when to walk away. The world often tells us that constant socializing is the key to happiness, but the Stoics teach a different lesson. Peace comes from within, not from the approval or company of others. Choosing solitude isn't a weakness. It's a conscious decision to protect your time, your energy, and your mind. Marcus Aurelius once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." And wasting time on meaningless interactions, gossip, or drama, that's not a life well lived. So if you've ever felt different because you prefer quiet over crowds, depth over small talk, and self-reflection over social validation, know this: you're not alone, and you're not wrong. You're simply choosing a path that few have the courage to walk. And that's something to embrace, not to change. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Do you prefer being alone? What's your reason? Let's start a conversation that actually matters. And if you found value in this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, because wisdom is meant to be spread. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay mindful, stay strong, and stay true to yourself.